Before we get going with this week's show, a word from a few of our friends. Let's begin with Adelphi. Adelphi Racing has had a tremendous year so far, led by our stakes-winning and graded stakes-placed New York-bred filly, Funny How. And we are primed to have a big second half of 2023 with several other horses set to compete in stakes races this summer, including Community Adjusted, Gemmint 10, and Ziarati. Our partners are particularly excited to unveil our class of 11 two-year-olds over the coming months. Quite simply, there has never been a better time to be a partner. If you're looking for a collaborative horse ownership experience that offers a fiscally sustainable approach to horse ownership, then Adelphi Racing is the right fit for you. We're not just another syndicate, and our members aren't just investors. We are partners. Contact us today to get a taste of the Adelphi experience and come hang out with us for the remainder of the Saratoga meeting. All the ways to get in touch with the folks at Adelphi. First things first, the website, adelphiracing.com. Email, matt@adelphiracing.com. matt@adelphiracing.com. And on social media, Instagram @Adelphi_racing or on Twitter @Adelphi Club. And Breeders' Cup. We're thrilled to be partnered again with the Breeders' Cup for 2023. This weekend features a win and you're in for the Juvenile Turf Sprint with the, I don't know the sponsor. Let's go with Zoom. It's the Prix Mornay from Deauville on Sunday, August the 20th. Additionally, all entry fees for the winner will be covered and a $10,000 award to the nominator. Be sure to stay tuned to In the Money Media for all of your Breeders' Cup coverage. It's the Breeders' Cup Win and You're In Challenge Series. We are getting closer and closer to the Breeders' Cup out at Santa Anita. Now, on to this week's show, episode 168. What's happening? Welcome into the Matt Bernier Show, part of the In the Money Media Network. My name is Matt Bernier. You can follow me on Twitter @Bernier_Matt. Today is Friday, August the 18th, 2023. It's episode 168 of the pod. However you listen, thank you for doing so. Many ways to find the show: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, inthemoneypodcast.com, just to name a few. You can also listen over on YouTube. Search bar Matt Bernier Show. You'll get this episode along with the 167 prior. As always, please rate, review, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down. Make sure the bell icon's lit up if you're over on YouTube so you get notified when new content has been uploaded to the In the Money Media channel. This show, Horse Players Happy Hour, the Players Pod, you name it, a million different things. JK plus one, anything and everything from In the Money Media. This week's show is a little bit of me just riffing at the beginning, but also I'm doing something different, and this could really be a dud, but as I'm recording this, or I'm going to do it in parts anyway, there's a big Pick 5 carryover happening at Ellis. Now, my FanDuel TV shift tonight is from 6 to 9 Eastern. So this Pick 5 sequence is not part of that. It will be concluded before I even go on. I think 5 o'clock Eastern, right around there, is the last leg of the sequence. So I am still finishing my ticket. There are 10 minutes to go until the fourth race. The fifth race is the kickoff leg of the Pick 5. I'm going to, again, I have no idea if this is going to suck or it's going to be fun, but I'm going to watch the race as they're leading into the gate, let you know what I have if I'm still alive, watch the race, and dissect a little bit. I'm not going to do a full-blown deep dive into watching the tape back, but just sort of a live, although for you all it would be a taped reaction. Again, it could be a completely useless exercise. Might even be an exercise. Might be fucking boring. I have no idea. But we're going to try it. We're going to do that. But the first part, or portions of this anyway, are going to be me kind of riffing on a few thoughts that I've had recently about a combination of the concept of a pick in a race. Because we're all obsessed with that. Not just from a professional standpoint, if you work in the industry or you're someone that gives out picks for things. But I think all of us, if you go to the track with your friends and your family and you go, oh, who do you like in this race? So I like the 2. Or I like, Palace Malice. Or I like Zenyatta. Or RIP to Jerry Moss, by the way. Terrible loss earlier this week. Legend of a man will sorely be missed. But I like whomever. We're all obsessed with the pick. And I think it's just an outdated way to go about this game. So we'll touch on that a little bit. And then also, philosophically, and we'll actually start with this. There are some of you out there that don't watch tape, don't watch replays. Your prerogative. Some folks just handicap off the paper. Fine, so be it. If you do watch replays, and I kind of have found myself doing this more and more, I think there's my suggestion anyway, because it's been an interesting change stylistically for me to go and watch the replays themselves and come to conclusions and draw conclusions. In the past, I have gone through, let's say I'm making it up. Well, for tonight, actually, okay? The third race at Del Mar. I like a horse in there, okay? Now, in the past, I would pull up the last race or two or however many races I feel like I need to try to get a real idea or feel for these horses. And I would look immediately and say, okay, well, this filly's breaking from this stall. And I would watch her the entire way around. And if I needed to, I'd go back, watch it again, or watch it head on, anything like that. And I venture a guess to say most people do that. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's how I've basically done it my entire life. But I've recently started to change that idea and that thought, and that maybe I've kind of approached it incorrectly. I'm trying to now go and do the best I possibly can to avoid finding out names. I don't listen to the calls anymore because I don't want that tainted or anything like that. But avoiding finding out where your study, the horse you're interested in, I don't want to know anything about them in the replay I'm about to watch. I just want to watch a horse race. Okay? No volume. I don't know who's who, breaking from where. In graded stakes, that's going to be more difficult, or with horses that you're very familiar with. But on a day-to-day basis, if you're not locked into a certain circuit and you have to play all over, or you choose to play all over, or like me, we're handicapped 7 million different tracks and, this, that, and the other. I watch the replay and I just purely am looking to see if there's anything that stands out. If I think everybody kind of got a fair shake and I don't think there were any trips to make note of or anything like that, then it makes me, I will go back and replay it. But at that point, that's when I'll look and see, okay, well, who's the actual horse that I'm focused on? Because if there's nothing in the first pass through of the race that I find interesting or noteworthy, then to me, kind of the running line's the running line. The fig's the fig. What you see is what you get. But if I watch the replay the first time through and I can see there's 2 or 3 horses that maybe there's a thing at the start where they all kind of sandwich together and they're pinballing off of each other, or there's a horse rounding the clubhouse turn that's 5 wide, and then down the backside they're wide and they try to make an early move and then they don't run on at the end, that's when I'll then go back and say, okay, well, who is this? And I know a lot of people that take replays and take notes on a day-to-day basis. When a circuit is running, let's say I'm making it up, you're a Gulfstream only player. A lot of people, more so the proper kind of day in and day out player, but a lot of people will go through and at the end of the day, they'll go back, watch the replays, take their notes. If there's trip notes, file it away in a stable mail, stable watch, whatever it may be. And that's that. And you get a feel for the racetrack, how things are playing and tendencies and whatnot. But if you're playing many different circuits at a time, that becomes borderline impossible if you have any kind of life outside of this. So I want to go and watch now and see, okay, who was that horse that had a miserable trip? And then I'll go and see if it happens to be the horse that I'm looking at, or are there multiple horses in this race that are coming out of that race of the 3 or 4 or whomever, however many there are, who had the worst of it, who had the best of it, things like that. Maybe I'm not telling you anything brilliant, but I would encourage you, if you are someone that watches replays and you go about it sort of with intent initially going in saying, I want to go back and look at the trip that Forte pulled in the last race. And that, again, it's tough with the graded stakes types because we kind of all know the silks and we know the players at hand. But if it's the opener at Canterbury on a Wednesday night and you're not familiar with really any of the horses, I would challenge you, rather than go and specifically find out how the one horse ran, do your best. Don't listen to the calls, and it's not because the announcers aren't great, but don't listen to anything. Don't look at the names on the bottom of the screen. Just watch the race. And if it's a relatively uneventful race, okay, then the running line is kind of the running line. Go back and then specifically watch the horse that you're interested in. But there's probably nothing interesting or major to glean from it. Conversely, if you just watch the race and let it all unfold and you see one or two horses that kind of catch your eye for whatever reason, middle move, head to steady, never really got settled, whatever, and then you go and do your chart work, you say, oh, this is actually the horse that I'm interested in. You go back and you watch and you specifically hone in on that one runner. I think you can get a better feel for the truth. We all get a little bit, we have a subjective element of any of these kind of handicapping things, but especially so when it's maybe a horse on paper, your first pass through, you're like, ooh, this could be a sneaky 8, 10, 12, 15 to 1 shot. And you go in wanting to see something. And maybe you're not hook, line, and sinker just going to kind of tell yourself what you want to hear. But we all end up with a bit of it's a slanted view at that point. If you already want to see something that confirms your thought that maybe this is going to be a live price. If you just watch the race for what it is, strip all the factors out of it, the names, all that, and then you see something, I think that's when a replay or a trip can be very valuable. So, again, not everybody watches tape. I want to know, beneath the video player on YouTube, do you watch replays? Do you not care about those sort of things? Handicapping is different for everyone. I'm not telling you there's a right, wrong, indifferent way of doing it. I'm saying as someone that watches replays, I've changed that a little bit, and I think I've gotten a better feel for the reality of trips than maybe what I had initially wanted to see. Hopefully that makes some sense. Now, the quick piece on the selection idea, okay? I work for FanDuel TV, work for NBC, work for In the Money Media. In the Money of the three is probably the least selection-oriented, but we still talk about picks and things like that. The other two, because it's television, the easiest and the most understandable way of going about things is selections. Which, again, it all depends what you're doing. Professionally, sometimes you don't have any other options. Picks need to go out, okay? But if you are just a player in general, if you do it by yourself, if you do it with friends, family, or just a group, whatever, I would challenge you to do this, kind of piggybacking on rethinking the way to watch a replay. If you're someone that you handicap a race, next weekend's Travers, you go into it and you go, I handicap the race, I like National Treasure, okay? And maybe you don't want to do it for the Travers, but I think it's going to be a perfect opportunity to do this idea, this thought. And this is how I'm trying to go about my own gambling. And I'm trying to verbalize it as well as I can on FanDuel TV. But I would challenge you to go into a race. Let's use the Travers. It's going to be a big full field. It's going to be a competitive race. Your favorite might be, 3-1? 5-2? If it's Forte, something like that. You're not going to have an overwhelming favorite. I would challenge you to go into the race, and I've spoken of making a value line or a fair odds line in the past. I would challenge you to go into the race and not make a pick, but assign the likelihood of each horse winning. Assign a probability. If you want to even take the shortcut, which is what I've started to do selfishly, just purely on timing, when I'm putting out one of those full-page graphics for FanDuel in terms of win odds. If it's a 12-horse field, in the past, I would go all the way through the entire field. A 1% chance here translates to 99 to 1, this, that, and the other. The sort of shortcut to that is only assign 80% probability to the contenders because the 20% you weren't going to have them anyway. They're going to be bombs. So effectively, just separate your contenders from your pretenders. And among the contenders, assign 80%. Okay? So let's do that for the Travers, just to assume. And let's say the 4 horses you like are the Triple Crown winners, the 5 horses. The Triple Crown winners, okay? So Mage, National Treasure, Forte, Archangelo, and then the other 2 are Forte and Angel of Empire. So you've got 5. Assign your probability to those 5, how likely you think each one of them is. And rather than say my pick in the race is Forte, maybe you decide that Forte is the most likely winner of the Travers in your opinion, and he wins, I'm just using a number, 28% of the time. Of that 80% that the contenders win, he wins 28%. So nearly, call it the better part of a third. Rather than say your pick is Forte, say I think Forte is the most likely winner. And then look at the tote. And if Forte, 28% translates to 5-2, and you get into the real weeds. If you want to break it down into the decimal points, I don't waste time with that. I don't have the time or energy to really worry about that. But if you look at the tote and he's 9-5, well, then does your pick of him really does it matter? A pick really is just an ego thing. If you give him a 5-2 chance to win and he's 9-5, you should just kind of, in terms of winning, betting to win. I'm not talking about picks, multi-race picks, I should say. But if he's 9-5 and you think he should be 5-2, it doesn't make a difference if he's your pick or not. It's a waste of air. If you make Archangelo, let's say 7-2, 22% chance, and he's 5-1, well, maybe he's not your pick, but he should be your bet because you're getting a substantial overlay. I would challenge you at home to rethink the way that you go about not really handicapping a race, but talking about the race. And if it's just by yourself, rather than say, man, I really like National Treasure, say, I have National Treasure as my most likely winner of the race. And then when the odds pop up, compare and contrast. Just look for the value. If you're not getting the price, he's not a bet. So does it make a difference if he's your pick? It's an old school thought. And it is purely an ego thing, the picks. Truthfully. What difference does a pick make if you're not betting him? And when I say you're not betting him, it's because you're not getting the price. Maybe some of you already do that. But I think that's a necessary evil, a way that we need to kind of change the thought behind the sort of the pick versus the bet, because they're not always going to be the same. And maybe this was a waste of time. But just something to think about. Let me know your thoughts about these first 2 items, this word diarrhea that I've had, beneath the video player on YouTube or on Twitter at Bernier_Matt. Now, we're going to transition into the Pick 5 at Ellis on Friday. So you're going to listen to this Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whenever. Yes, this Pick 5 is come and gone. But there's about 25 minutes until the first leg of the sequence. I'm going to go through bit by bit as we get close to post time. I'll let you know who I have in what fashion. And I might get bounced in the first leg. I might get bounced in the last leg. I might hit the Pick 5. I don't know. And this could be a tremendous, tremendous waste of time. But if you're curious, stick around because we still got more to come. First leg of the Pick 5, and I thought it was 122,000. I think we advertised that. I guess it's only 92,000 in the late Pick 5 carryover. They're headed to the gate for the first leg. Race number 5, 2 turns on turf, 1 mile and a 16th. I've got coverage really in all the legs. I thought it was a really tough sequence. So this first leg, I have 3 A's and 2 B's. And I say B's. I actually only play mains and backups. So I've got 3 A's and 2 C's, I guess, if you wanted to use that regard or that idea, where I can basically be wrong only one time outside of my A's. I can get a C home, but then I need all A's the rest of the way. So I have, in this opening leg of the sequence, I have the 2, who's the first-time starter for Chad Brown. That's maturity date. I have the 8, Fancy Looker, who opened up taking a ton of money, second-time starter for Mike Maker. And then I've got the also eligible that drew in. I was thinking about only going to 13. The 13 is Bella Cruella, second-timer for Brian Williamson's barn, who I thought ran well on debut. I thought about only using those 2, but then when the Maker horse opened up taking so much money, I felt like I just wanted to add just in case. My backups, the race is off. The 8's going right to the front. The 13 is going to perch just off the flank. Somebody's intent down on the inside. The 4 and the 5, and now the 8 and 13 are swung wide. The backups in here are the 3 and the 7. Am I reading that right? No, I can't be right. No, I'm sorry. The backups are the 5 and the 10. Panthera and Winsome Beauty. So 23 and 3 around the clubhouse turn. 4, 5, 8. They're kind of lined up. 6 and 10 tucked in behind. 13 sitting a mid-pack trip. And Chad's horse for Klarovich starting to kind of draft in behind that one. And Tasting Sunset did not have this one. This is a second timer for Riley Mott's barn. The 5 Panthera is working at a beautiful trip. Really, you can't complain if you back Maker's horse either. 3 wide, but I'd rather be in the clear at this point with horses like this. Just in behind are my other 2 horses, the 13 and the 2. So we'll see if anybody can really start ramping up the pressure here around the far turn. It looks like the 13 is cooked. Chad is sort of kind of going up and down. Maker's horse is moving very well right now. Moving out to the lead. They're swinging wide. Boy, this camera is always going to be a trick for me. There's a horse coming from the back that if he just gets a seam and just opened up for him, if he kicks on through, he's going to be a freaking handful, unfortunately. Okay, and it's going to be him, isn't it? Maker's on the lead. Here comes the 10 trying to get involved. Sistina Chapel. I do not have this horse. And this horse is going to beat me out of everything, isn't he? Come on, Maker, dig. Dig, Maker. Come on, Mike. Get your horse home. Yo. Fancy Looker hangs on. Sistina Chapel, the firster from McPeak. That's a big effort for that filly on debut. McPeak's horses usually get better with age. She was moving so well around the far turn, and then a massive hole opened up. Brian Hernandez gives her a great ride, gets her down to the rail. I think Maker holds on. It looked like he did anyway. The 10 tried to get involved down the outside. That's Winsome Beauty. I would have taken that one, because for a minute it looked like I was going to be bounced out of everything. I'm fairly sure we're looking at 8. Yeah. 8, 11, 10. Wow, the Sistina Chapel, she got bet too. She got bet down at 5-1. I don't think there was anything crazy happening here early on. They're showing the gate break now. Everybody looked, I guess the outside, maybe the 12 didn't have the cleanest go of it early, but I don't think there was anything crazy there. Okay, so now in hindsight, maybe this is, it's the beauty of the opening leg of any of these sequences, really, because I was interested in Fancy Looker. I was going to use this horse as a backup, but when she opened up at like 7-5, I rejiggered the ticket a little bit and made her an A. So we survive. I mean, I'm alive with everybody else that's in this thing, but really that's all these sequences are. Survive in advance. Waiting for him to just throw it up, but looks like we get through the first leg here. 5-2, the favorite, but 1 leg down. Hopefully 4 more to go for me. There are 4 more in this sequence, I can guarantee you that much. 7/8 on the main, big pedigrees. These are 2-year-old girls, many of them first-time starters. I'm very deep in here, but it would be extremely favorable for me if I could get an A home, because I only have 1 A in the next race, and looking ahead to that next race, the middle leg of the pick, I really felt like kind of anyone could win, but I didn't want to use all 6 of them in the same strength. As an A, it would just make the ticket even bigger than it already was. So I have one A in that race, and then the other 5 are backups. So if I can get an A home here, that would ensure that I get through the next leg. I'd basically be guaranteed to get through it. So my A's here are the 3, the 5, the 6, and the 11. The 3 is Simply Striking, a second-time starter for Riley Mott's barn. Showed speed in the debut and got tired. She was 13-1 that day. She's currently 5-1. She's getting bet. The 5, Pursuit of Liberty, a firster for Cox, who was 8-1 on the line. That was never going to happen. 2-1. There's pedigree to suggest she'll be good early on. The 6, the same can be said for Floored. Vicky Oliver doesn't win first out often, but she's done well at Ellis this meet. And the pedigree is there for this one to be good early on. Currently 6-1. And then the 11 is a firster on the outside for Dallas Stewart, another horse that's got a little bit of win early pedigree, although collected kind of hit or miss what he actually is going to be as a stallion. That horse is 23-1. My backups are the 1, the 4, and the 9. The 1 is a firster, Charlotte's Approval. She was actually the morning line favorite at 3-1. Firster for Mark Cassie's barn. The pedigree's there. Just that there's a gap in the tab between July 15th and the 28th. And the rail, I'll use her defensively. A firster for Todd's barn, Corb, the 4, who is your second choice at 4-1. So the second and third choices, I have them as backups. I don't have them as A's. Couldn't use all of them. And then the 9, Remembering, is a firster for Michael McCarthy's barn at 15-1. So, I mean, look, it's a race loaded with inexperienced horses. Anything can happen. You can get lucky or you can get boned. It would be really beneficial for me if I could get an A home. I'm not even going to ask for a price. Just get me an A home, and that way we can get through that next leg, and we won't have to bank on the lone A that I used in there. And again, it was primarily because this race, I felt like I wanted to have some coverage with some numbers. The next race, the horse that I singled, or my lone A, is the Cox horse coming off the layoff and has never run on turf before. So there's no guarantee the horse can even stand up on it. But the run prior to the stakes try, I think it was the Rush Away. I'll look at it in a bit. They are off. Let's see. Somebody walked out of the gate. That was the 8. Big speed down on the inside from both the firsters, from Cassie and from Pletcher. Outside, oh, look at this. Dallas Stewart's horse has got run. Okay, so 2 of my A's are up there. The 10 just got shuffled back out of there. So I have both of these horses that are out on the front. I have 3 of the first 4, which almost certainly means that Todd's going to be the one to beat me, who I don't have. 22-3, Brad Cox makes the front. I like how sharp the firster for Stewart broke. I don't know if this horse is going to be able to run down Brad Cox in the front end. At 23-1, that would certainly juice some things up in a tremendous way. Todd's horse is moving really well right now. Sit in the pocket trip. The 3 is starting to make a bit of a move. Is that the Mott horse? Yeah, the Mott horse is trying to get involved. Come on, Dallas Stewart on the outside at 23-1. We got a horse race at the top of the lane. Todd's coming, though. Todd's horse just tipped out now. He's got dead aim on both of them. Shit. Boy, this Dallas Stewart horse ran a big freaking debut, too, and Todd's going to beat me. God damn it. I gambled, and I think it was a fair gamble. Man, to have this horse run this well to finish second. God. This is such a spread out group. That kills me on so many fronts. I feel like I was really sharp to throw that horse in there, and then look, I gambled that I could beat Pletcher first out. God, that is annoying because that would have blown this thing up. She was the 4th longest shot on the board. Pletcher first-time starter, Corb. She's another one. She had a gap in the tab from July 24th to August 11th. So the negative here is twofold. Yes, I'm still alive, but many people are. Man, that kills me that Dallas Stewart horse ran that freaking well. She broke so sharp. She was up there. They put away the Cox horse. The Cox horse finished 3rd. But at 23, that's the kind of horse that sends this thing sideways. And instead, not only do I lose my backups the rest of the way, but at 4-1, this is kind of an uninteresting sort of, backup horse. Well, I mean, I guess what are you going to do? I'm not super optimistic that I'm going to connect this thing now. And again, it's just such a gut punch that filly ran so well. Her name, she Controlled Temper. Dallas Stewart, first time starter. She broke like a shot. There was pedigree on the bottom to think that they were going to run. And she did. She ran her eyeballs out, and she just got beat by one at 23-1. Oh, God, that would have blown it up. Okay, well, we'll come back for the third leg where we've only got one. All right, horses headed to the turf course, 7th race. The only horse I have is Quadra, who is the first timer on grass for Cox. And I said it before the last race. I think anybody can win. I don't know if it means anything when it's a Brad Cox horse. Opened up at 7-5 or 8-5, is floated up to 5-2. The doubles would indicate might actually go off as the third choice in here behind I'd Rather Be Blessed than King Curlin. I don't have any real confidence here. I guess if there's a silver lining, it seems like the Cox horse is the third choice in all the pools. The pick 3 as well. So, we'll see what happens. 1.25 miles. I thought I'd Rather Be Blessed. I mean, the good thing with this runner was last time was the first time on turf, and you saw a pretty, I would say an enormous improvement, but had a dream trip up the inside, goes right to the front here. They're not going that fast because the 3, Roja Redemption's got a stranglehold right now. I think it's Talamo. The Cox horse is shuffled back to last, 25-2. So this is dawdling at best. And King Curlin's on the outside. I was torn between going 5, 6, 7 in here. Then the 6 scratched. But it kind of goes back to that maiden race where to get a little extra coverage. And to be fair, also, I can look at this and feel sorry for myself about the way the whole thing played out in the last race. But if I didn't change the structure of the ticket and add the maker horse in the first leg, I'm not even here. So we'll see how this thing plays out. 51-1 down the back. The Cox horse is last. Corrales is starting to kind of try to push a little bit to stay within shouting distance. This is also a 3-year-old taking on older horses. So, I mean, for all I know, the horse might finish last. 15-2 for 3/4. I mean, they're crawling out there. I'd Rather Be Blessed is moving well. King Curlin's starting to feel a little bit of pressure. The 3 is moving well. That's the Paulo Lobo horse. Cox's horse is trying to get involved, but Jesus Christ, you had nothing to run at all. Horse would need to be lengths the best, and I'm just not anticipating that. They're turning for home now, top of the lane. I think if Talamo can get this thing down on the inside, Lobo's horse is going to win. We'll find out. Looks like the 1, the 7 has got every chance with those 7s being a goofball. Cox is trying to run down the outside. Come on, Brad. Come on, Brad, on the outside. You got him. Get up. All right. We got home. This horse, I mean, given the pace scenario, this horse is, I would say, conservatively 2 to 3 lengths the best. Came from last, looped the field. 3-year-old against some older horses. Goes off as your clear third choice at 3-1. So, look, I'm still feeling like the last race was one that got away, but this was the only single piece left here. Okay, so I've got 2 in the next race, and if we can get through that, I got 5 in the nightcap in the payoff leg. The double for $1 to this horse was $23, so not terrible. And the pick 3 was even nicer. For $1, that was like 86 and change. So not all right. Not terrible. Not terrible. Still 2 legs to go. There is a very real scenario. I've got the 2 favorites, I think, in the next race. I've got Pumpkin Scone, the Cox horse, and then I've got Evergrande, who I know is 8 on the line. I think that horse for Asmussen will go off as the second choice, and they could easily duel each other into the ground. Or it could be a 2-speed number where they just go 1-2, and we hope for the best, and then, we'll worry about the payoff leg when we get there. But alive through 3, 2 to go. About a minute or so until the 8th at Ellis. Now, I've only got 2 horses in here, and I had the betting way off for this race, or at least my anticipation. I thought Cox would be favored and a prohibitive favorite, which the double suggests probably still will be, but is only 2 to 1. So you would initially be thinking, oh, well, a little chilly. No, I don't know what you want to do with Awatia, who's a first-time starter, was 20 to 1 on the morning line for Riley Mott's barn. And I say, I don't know what you want to do. These races are already done by the time you're listening to this. But this horse opened up with 2,000 bet on her. Okay, Riley Mott's only 5%. He's a small sample size, but out of 20 starters. So somebody just dropped $2,000 way ahead of time. And I don't know if that means that the horse is ready to go or what, but she opened up at 3 to 2 from 20 to 1 morning line. She's up to 5 to 1 now. The only 2 that I have are Pumpkin Scone, the favorite, and then I thought Evergrande, who actually did take some money early on, was in that kind of 5 to 1-ish range. Now is 9 to 1, now 10 to 1. Those are the only 2 that I've got. So I need 3 or 6 to get home. My only other backup, had I been alive with my backup ticket, would have been the 8, the first-time starter Gather for Rusty Arnold, who's 27 to 1. I think that one's at least kind of sneaky in terms of running well first out, but it doesn't make a difference to me here because I don't have her on tickets. So for me, it's 36, and I think they're probably the 2 speeds, which anybody that was unfamiliar with me before watching FanDuel TV, I mean, this is American racing. It's all about speed, but there is a real likelihood that those 2 go out there and cook each other early on. The gates break. 6 broke like a shot. 3 about a half step slow, but very quickly kind of rights the ship, gets toward the front. They're lining up out there, actually, which is not good for me because I thought my horses would be clear by now. Pumpkin Scone got pounded late down to 4 to 5, but she's been in this position in the past and she's spit it. Sugar Boo showing big early speed early on. Who is Sugar Boo? Blinkers go on for the first time for the Ian Wilkes barn. That's interesting to see where she is. 22 and 2 for the opening quarter. Sugar Scone's starting to get away a little bit. Here's the Mott horses running down on the rail. That money was real early on. This freaking thing's going to win. She's traveling beautifully. She's just in the pocket right now inside Asmussen's horse. The Cox horse is still on the lead. Here comes the Mott horse. The 12 is starting to run. Stagflation. That horse is 1,000,000 to 1. The Mott horse has got every chance. Cox has now put 3 on the field. This filly has stopped before. If she stops now, it's a complete and utter disaster. It doesn't look like she's going to. She's put 7 on this field. Geared down. Stagflation runs second at 12 to 1. The Asmussen horse holds on for third. The Mott horse moved very well. I think that's an encouraging debut for that Riley Mott horse. Awatia. Came right up, looked like she was moving sweet. When the real running started, she was empty, but, again, it doesn't seem like Riley's runners early on. It seems like he usually gives them one before you see their best. So 4 to 5 shot, gets home. The double, let's see. I mean, the double with 2 Cox horses for 2 comes back like $17, which isn't a disaster, really, when you think about it. The pick 3 into this for $1 is like 44. So, all right. So we're alive going into the payoff leg. And one of the rare times in my gambling career, it changes, depends on sequences and whatnot, but I prefer to be in a position where get me alive. So like these pick 3s that I really start to press up now. It's baby coverage, meaning, 3, maybe 4 horses. And then there's one horse I like in the payoff leg. Get me alive to that horse. I want to turn a 10 to 1 runner into a 100 to 1 kind of thing. I happen to be alive to 5 horses here. Okay. And I don't believe I don't know. I don't have the favorite or the third choice. So I will have the 5 Left Pocket Money, who on the morning line is 30 to 1. I will have the 8 Magical Thinking, who's 8 to 1. The 10 Sapello Sound, who's 6 to 1. The 11 Prosecution, who is 9 to 2. And Neep Tide, the 12, who's 12 to 1. Those are all the morning line prices. I'll come back before that race goes off. We'll see what they look like. I can't imagine. Let's see what the double wheel probables would have been 3 into these horses. So let me just double check, make sure I didn't jack up these tickets at all. 3, 6, 4, 9, 5, 3, 6, 5, 8, 10, 11, 12. Okay. So the double probables. Okay, so we're taking this horse, Pumpkin Scone, that just won the 8th, into my horses, just to try to get an idea. The 12, a 312 is $38 for $1. A 311 is 35. A 310 is 20. A 38 is 70. And a 35 is 32. Those are all for $1 in the doubles. So I don't have the 4. I don't have the 7. Those are the 2 clear favorites. And then I've got some others that are mixed in and amongst there. So, I mean, just based on that, and with the way that these pick 3s have paid, maybe just because these fields have been huge, this might not be bad. Might be alive for some decent number. I would hope the shortest one, maybe 1,000 for the shortest. And then, I mean, the longest price would probably be something like... I could be way off on this. I truly have no idea. I'm going to say the 5 horses would be between 1,000 and 5,000. That's a guess. And that race has gone official, but the will pays haven't come up yet. So we shall see. That race has gone official. Okay, waiting to see. I guess I'll just leave it right here for a minute, and I'll talk through any early money that shows up. Pools have not updated yet. I also need to finish getting ready for my shift for FanDuel tonight. Gerardo Corrales has got 5 winners on the day. Who's he on in the nightcap? Anybody? Gerardo Corrales. He is on the 11 Prosecution, who we have. Lovely. 9 to 2 co-favorites, Midnight Channel and Left Pocket Money. Left Pocket Money, who I have, the 5 horse, 30 to 1 on the line, 9 to 2. I didn't think the horse ran terribly in the first try on turf, first time blinkers. A little bit green, but it didn't have a great kick at the end. But on Thoroughgraph, I mean, I say Philly, that gelding is as likely a winner as anyone. So yeah, I mean, there's 12 horses in the field. We got 5 of them. I'm going to hope between 1,000 and 5,000 are the payoffs. And I'm sure some of you listening by now, you were either part of this thing or you don't care, which I don't blame you. You're listening to somebody else's gambling. Come on, Will Pace, pop up for me. So then I can go upstairs. I gotta say goodbye to the babe before I end up, because I will be on when she is having dinner and getting ready for her tub. Let me know if this has been fun to go back and listen to beneath the video player on YouTube or on Twitter at Bernier_Matt. This could have been a waste of time for everyone, but I think this has been, it's been fun for me. We're live in a pick 5 that had a big carryover. Oh man, and can you even imagine if the Dallas Stewart horse had won at 23 to 1? Jesus. Still got no will pays. Here we go. Let's start. I'm weird like this, right? Let's go to the pick 4 and see what the pick 4s are paying, just to try to get an idea. To my horses, the pick 4 to the 5 is for 50 cents, coming back 460. To the 8, 400 roughly, 393. To the 10, 220. To the 11, 186. And to the 12, 300. I think I may be even wrong between my 1,000 and 5,000, but let's find out. Okay. The 5, yeah, I'm wrong on my numbers. The 5 is 2,300. The 8 is 2,500. The 10 is 1,200. The 11 is 1,300. And the 12 is 1,600. So look, this is not going to be anything really super one way or the other. Obviously, I would rather hit it than not. But, you know, you put yourself in positions, you hope that you can make a score. And this, for me, would, you know, really be anywhere between a 4X and a 3X and a 5 or 6X. I put 415 into it. So we'll see what happens. I'll come back for the race. I'll get all the outros out of the way here as they are walking out onto the turf course. However you listen, thank you for doing so. Many ways to find the show. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, InTheMoneyPodcast.com. You can all listen. You can also listen on YouTube. Search bar Matt Bernie or show. You'll get this episode along with the 167 prior. And as always, please rate, review, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down. Questions, comments, concerns beneath the video player. You know the drill. So we're not in positions for giant scores, but better than a stick in the eye. I will, if I do end up hitting this, getting one of these 5 horses home, I will absolutely, throughout my upcoming FanDuel shift, be thinking of, well, what if Dallas Stewart had won? Because I think conservatively, these would have been probably, I would say at least 5X more across the board, and probably the bigger prices closer to 10X. Maybe that's a bit overzealous, but at the same time, the Todd was the co-second choice, and the Stewart horse was the 5th or the 4th longest shot at north of 20. So I've spoken about that horse too much already. There is my timer to make sure I came back down here to wrap this up. The pick 6, just for ha-has, those of you playing. Again, you guys have already listened to all this. You've already seen these races are done. I don't know why I'm filling you in on any of this. Somebody's alive for 120 grand to the 6th. Lola's Bow. Good for them. All right, horses are crossing over the turf course. Next week, Travers Week, should be fun. Should be a great race. I'm sure I'll touch on that. That's probably what next week's show will primarily address. Horse Players Happy Hour. Continue on with that if you have not been playing along or you've thought about it and you haven't pulled the trigger yet. No better time than now to get involved. And I'm running out of my little home stretch here. I will be home for next week and then the following week. And then I head to Kentucky Downs. I won't be there for opening day, but I will be there for the interior 5 days, let's say. Not opening day, not closing day. I'll get in, do those, and then I go to Canada, go to Woodbine for the Woodbine Mile for NBC. And then coming out of that, Pennsylvania Derby. I will be in Bensalem, Pennsylvania at Parks. And then I go to Arizona with my wife for a week, which would be fun. And then Keeneland. And Keeneland leads right into the Breeders' Cup, which leads right into Churchill Downs. And before you know it, we're into December. So that's the racing calendar. Goes that fast. Makes everything kind of come to a bit of a blur. All right, so I got 5 horses in here. The 5, the 8, the 10, the 11, the 12, 2,300, 2,500, 1,200, 1,300, 1,600. I keep feeling like I'm at a point where it's just programmed in my head to throw it to the track announcer and go on from there. 10's acting up a little bit. They're all getting a little bit rambunctious in the gate. Last horse on the outside, Neap Tide. All right, let's see how this whole thing unfolds. They're off. And I guess I could even get ahead of this and say, for the folks that are curious about a hedge or anything like that, to me, this is not nearly enough to warrant trying to cover any other bases. You just kind of let it ride. Whatever happens, happens here. If we were dealing with the scenario where I had some of those prices that were going to be, let's say the Stewart horse had won and I was live for anywhere between 5 and 10X, even the 10 grand one, I'm probably not going to 20. I'd think about it. But even then, that's easier said than done. You've all seen how this race has unfolded already, but Left Pocket Money made the front. They all had to go pretty fast early. The 3 Norbert down on the inside. The 10 Sapelo Sounds in a good position. The favorite, who I don't have, Absolute Courage, 8-5, is now moving up in between runners. The 2 is making up some headway down on the inside. I think that's the 9 on the far outside. Where are my other horses? I got 11, 12 farther back. The 3 is going to be a problem, I think, from here. The 9 is looping up on the outside. Don't have him. Don't have the 1. Things are not looking great for me right now. 9 is on his way home. He has made the front. I'm trying to see if any of my horses are involved. I had 5 horses and not one of them is firing. 12 on the outside. Get outside over heels. No, it's going to be 1, 4, 8. None of my horses were even close. Midnight Channel. The 1 gets it done. How about that? For Anna Mia. Okay. So there you have it. 10-1 shot wraps it up and only paid $1,200 in the pick. So this was a horse that obviously some people liked and one that I did not have. So a bit of a deflating way to wrap that up, but I maintain this is, with the way the game is now, you need to be in position to make scores. I had 5 of the 12 horses and I didn't get it home. And I got to be honest, I don't know if any of them even hit the board. But I was against the favorite in there. And this is not nearly as tough a pill to swallow as if I were alive for much, much more. So it was a fun ride. I think you absolutely have to get involved with any of these carryovers or any time that there's free money in the pool. And I'm hopeful the first 2 things I mentioned on this week's show, you think about, and maybe they change the way or alter the way that you go about your handicapping a little bit. Or I'm not saying alter it in a bad way, but if maybe you're in a rut or you're looking to change some things up, I would consider trying those things at the beginning. I've already said part of my sign-off will wrap it up with best of luck, however you play, whatever you play, and wherever you play. It's been episode 168 of the Matt Bernier Show.